So this question comes from section 4C, and it says decide whether the following statement makes sense or is clearly true, or does not make sense or is clearly false. Explain your reasoning. It says if interest rates stay at 5% APR, and I continue to make my monthly $75 deposits into my retirement plan, I should have at least $40,000 saved when I retire in 35 years. And then you have to fill in the blanks here. So in order to do this type of problem, what we need to look at is first I'm going to grab the formula sheet. And I'm going to look at the formulas from chapter 4. And I'm going to say which of the formulas should I use from chapter 4. So here's the formula sheet. Here are our 4 finance formulas. So simple interest, that is simple interest for saving money. It is not compounded, meaning it just gains money on the principal itself. Compound interest is when you are saving money and it's compounded, meaning it builds interest on the principal and the previous interest. Then we have the savings plan. So the savings plan formula is something that you want to use when you are trying to save for something. A lot of times this will say a retirement plan. Or you want to save up to purchase a car, to purchase an appliance. So this is called the savings plan. Loan formula, this is for student loans, mortgages. So you want to find, in this one, you're finding what is the payment. Typically here we're looking for the monthly payment for a student loan or mortgage, credit cards. So the one I want to use in this case is for the retirement plan, is a savings plan. So I'm going to copy this formula down on my whiteboard. So it is A is equal to the payment. And it's very important that when I'm doing these formulas, that I keep the parentheses that I see on the formula sheet. So I have the formula written down almost. And let's talk about what each of these different variables mean. So I'm going to write the variables to the side here. Some of them are repeated, right? I see APR in 2 places. I see N in 2 places. And I see Y. But total there are 5 variables. What do they each stand for? This stands for the future amount. How much will I have at the end of so many years? The payment is the regular occurring payment. So if you are saving, putting aside $500 a month, a quarter, a year, that is your regular payment. If you're making the same payment every month, that is what payment stands for here. The APR is the interest rate. This is usually easier to pick out in the problem because you're going to look for the percent sign. So it's usually has a percent sign at the end of it, and you have to put it in a decimal form. So you're going to change it to a decimal before you use it in this formula. And you're going to change it to a decimal by dropping the percent sign and moving the decimal 2 places to the left. N is the number of payments per year. So if you are saving $500 once a year, then your N is going to be 1. If you are saving $500 every month, then your N is going to be 12. And the Y stands for the number of years. So now we went through and we have named all the variables and explained what each one means. And now I'm going to go to the problem and I'm going to look at the problem and I'm going to pick out what each of these variables stand for. So first, I want to ask myself, what is the question asking? So it wants to know how much I will have how much in my retirement account after the 35 years. So the variable that I'm looking for is capital A. What's the future amount? Then it says, we need to find the other 4 variables here. So this is my unknown. Payment. What is my regular payment? What am I saving per month? $75. I'm making monthly $75 deposits. So I'm going to label this as payment. Then my APR. My APR is 5%. This is going to be my APR. And I'm going to change it to a decimal by dropping the percent sign and moving the decimal that's here 2 places to the left. The N. N is the number of payments. So we're making monthly payments. So if you're making monthly payments, it's going to be 12 times a year, or your N will be 12. And then last, I'm looking for Y, how many years? So I'm retiring in 35 years, so my number of years is Y. So now I have all the variables I need, and what I like to do is list them out and then put the number next to them on the side. But I kind of wrote all this stuff here, so it's kind of in the way. But what I would do is I would erase this, and after I labeled everything, kind of underlined what I need, then I would say, okay, this is my unknown. My payment is $75. My APR is 0.05. My N is 12. And the number of years is 35. And then I'll plug it into the formula. So I'm going to say 75 times 1 plus 0.05 divided by 12 raised to the 12 times 35 power minus 1. This divided by the APR divided by N. And now that I have this in here, I have everything correct. And it's important to write this out so that you have it written out so you know what you need to type on the calculator. Now, typing it in the calculator, what I would suggest is to type it all in one step, one line, and not to break it into other pieces. Don't break it into pieces. So here's my calculator. And I'm going to type this all out. So the first number is 75. And then when I see parentheses or brackets, I'm going to use parentheses. So there were 2 here. There's a bracket and a parenthesis. So you'll see I put 2 here. And I type exactly as I see written, following this formula. And now there's a parenthesis to close one of these parentheses. And then I have 12 times 35. So I have to hit the caret symbol. Now this calculator model that I'm showing here it goes into this superscript. With some calculator models, you will see the caret symbol displayed. It's very important that if that's the model, that you surround this with parentheses. This one, these parentheses are not necessary because it is superscript. And then I say minus 1. But notice if I just had typed minus 1 originally, without hitting the right arrow key, it would have had just minus 1 in the superscript, and that's not where this is. So after you're done on this model, you close the parenthesis, you can right arrow over and go back to the normal line. Then I close the parenthesis again, and that will be this outside bracket. So, and I'm always, when I'm typing this in, I'm always looking back and making sure that I have everything that I wrote on paper in here. If you forget the decimal point, it's going to change the answer. If you forget the 0, it's going to change the answer. Any minor item that is different from what is written here will change the answer. So it's very important to always check back what you wrote. And then 0.05 divided by 12. And notice the whole denominator surrounded with parentheses. When I hit enter, I get this value. This is the future amount. This is the amount you will have after 35 years of retirement. So now I'm going to fill in the blanks here. And the statement is, does it make sense? Does it match? It says 40,000. Well, you're going to save 85,000. This is what will be the future amount. Some of that money was interest. Some of it was what you put in. So let's take a look. And so let's take a look at what you put in and what's the interest. So if you saved $75 every month, there are 12 months in every year. So I'm doing some conversions here. And you saved for 35 years. So I put this in my calculator. 75 times 12 times 35. And that gives me 31,500. So if the question asks how much did you invest in there, this is how much you invested. Because this was your money. Now, while you invested it, it was earning interest, and it grew the interest. So if the question asks what the interest was, you would take the total amount and you would subtract off the invested amount. And I guess let me write this like this. And what's left would be the interest that it earned. So the future amount would be this 85,206.93. And I invested 31,500. So if you want to know how much was earned in interest, subtract the amount you invested off the total future amount. And for this one, I end up with 53,706.93. So, but this question didn't really ask that. It asks, because you will have this much in your retirement, is it the same as 40,000? No, so this statement does not make sense. Now, yes, it's at least 40,000. And yes, even the amount of interest is 40,000. But the amount that you've saved is way more than that. So that's why they want you to answer it like that. So this question is from 4C and involves the savings formula plan. So this is the total future amount right here. What will be in the retirement account.